First up is the Kavanaugh circus. This week has seen the collapse of leftist efforts, by and large, to destroy his confirmation. It's not a done deal yet. As I put this on tape, I'm recording this version of the weekly update. The FBI hasn't come back with its full investigation or supplemental background investigation to the Senate, nor has the Senate voted. But the Senate is expected to vote within days, and you can bet the FBI hasn't found jack with respect to any of the allegations that have been levied, quite often, in my view, maliciously against Brett Kavanaugh to keep him off the Supreme Court. And in fact, the Democrats have moved away, and the leftist opposition class in the Democratic Party, in the media, and in the activist community have moved away and from the allegations of assault, gang rape, and other ludicrous claims to saying that he drank too much or he lied about drinking too much, which is absurd on its face. But this is the Stalinist approach to confirmations that the left has decided to take with Brett Kavanaugh. Accuse someone using virtually no evidence of outrageous misconduct and demand that they fess up and explain themselves. And it's that backwards process that the Senate got too far into, in my view, last week with the hearing that I thankfully was able to attend on behalf of Judicial Watch. You may have seen me there. But what a terrible hearing that was. And as I said before, there was this air of violence and intimidation in the Senate hallways that day. And sure enough, since then, Senator Flake was confronted and assaulted in an elevator. Their senators are having to walk around with police escorts, including especially Lindsey Graham, who has taken a leadership role on this issue. You've got this terrible effort by the left to not just oppose a nominee, but to destroy him and do it in a way that intimidates others from supporting him. Now, if you think that's the way our Republican form of government is supposed to operate, then I really don't know what to tell you. But if you're a sensible American, you're concerned about what's going on here in Washington, D.C. And the idea that Kavanaugh gets on the Supreme Court, I hope it happens. I hope you help make it happen. I'll tell you what to do about that soon. It isn't going to erase the damage done to our institutions and to our Republican form of government by the leftist attacks over the last 2 weeks. You've had at least one woman come up there and accuse her of gang rapes. Turns out that was a big lie. It's pretty clear it was a lie. Is she going to be prosecuted? I don't know. You have the lawyers for Dr. Ford obstructing Senate investigations. Are there going to be ethics issues around what they did? Are there going to be investigations as to what they did? You had Dr. Ford perhaps mislead the Senate about her claims. And then, of course, you had the brazen rule breaking by people like Cory Booker, who released documents in contravention of Senate rules. He admitted he did it. He made a big deal. I am Spartacus, he said. Well, being Spartacus requires expulsion from the Senate under the rules. That's the rule he violated. The release of confidential documents requires expulsion from the Senate. Is the Senate going to expel Senator Booker? Well, Judicial Watch filed an ethics complaint against him on that. But the good news is that the left's efforts to destroy have failed in terms of upending the confirmation process. But as we often say, the process is the punishment here. And so they've made it clear that other conservatives, when they come up for confirmation for sensitive positions such as the Supreme Court, this is what they can expect. So they may lose the Kavanaugh fight, but they've gotten their pound of flesh from the system in terms of frightening senators from taking strong stands on behalf of the rule of law and in favor of constitutional conservatives being put on the Supreme Court and other key positions. And they've taken their pound of flesh in terms of allowing this air of violence and intimidation to achieve certain results. Jeff Flake, for instance, He wasn't making any noise about an FBI investigation. He's a senator from Arizona who's retiring, a Republican, until he was assaulted in an elevator. Now, when I say assault, I don't mean people physically attacked him. But they cornered him, they wouldn't let him leave, it looks like. And that's the definition of assault. And this is what the left does. And it can't go by without, at least as far as Judicial Watch is concerned, we're going to try to hold them accountable. And in the meantime, it's up for you to make your voices heard, because the left right now, as we speak, is swarming the Senate, swarming the Hill. Again, trying to intimidate senators from doing the right thing, making them nervous. As I said, air of violence of intimidation, and an air of violence and intimidation on the Capitol Hill. Now, I'm not intimidated, but you can bet senators are intimidated. You can bet everyday citizens who also want to participate in the process are frightened from going up on the Hill and having their views heard. So you have to have your voice heard. And how do you do that? You got to contact your senators each and every day until he's confirmed. He could be confirmed as soon as tomorrow, although that's unlikely based on the schedule as of the time I'm taping this. Could be Sunday, Monday. You'll know the time. But you've got to call your senator each and every day and let them know what you think about what's going on with Judge Kavanaugh. And I would ask that you ask your senators to stand up for Judge Kavanaugh, not just vote yes, but stand up for him. Come out and say, I support him and I reject the filibuster of smears that has occurred here, the abusive process that has occurred here, the lies and libel that has occurred here, the misuse of Senate resources to target this man that has occurred here. Why is Lindsey Graham the only Republican you see on TV? Now, literally, he's not the only Senate Republican out there. Mitch McConnell, to his credit, has been making good floor speeches. Senator Grassley and his staff have been working hard. But there aren't that many Republican senators that you've seen, I guarantee you, on TV defending Judge Kavanaugh. Now, President Trump, to his credit, he's been out there calling it as he sees it. The establishment gets upset. Everyone clutches their pearls. But he quite succinctly, for instance, pointed out the problems in Dr. Ford's testimony. You know, I attended the hearing. It was emotional. Dr. Ford's testimony seemed sincere initially, but it falls apart upon consideration. Even during the testimony, she was saying things that made people think, what is going on here? Why is she attacking her friend? Why did she say that she flies all over the place when she was telling the Senate through her lawyers that she was made nervous to fly? Why is it she can't tell us any details about the assault other than it was Judge Kavanaugh and that she had a beer? And of course, President Trump, other people walk on eggshells because we're not allowed to question so-called victims. Well, we don't know she's a victim. We don't know that. She's saying she is. And in our system, we have a right to have questions about, well, what is it you're saying happened? We appreciate you may think something happened, but we have to have information more than that in order to destroy a man. I mean, we spent more time talking this week about Brett Kavanaugh's yearbook than anything else. I still can't get over it last week, where I'm sitting in a Senate hearing room, the greatest deliberative body in the world, the Senate fancies itself. And your taxpayer-funded Senate staff comes out holding up a giant placard, a giant poster-sized version of Brett Kavanaugh's high school yearbook. That's your Senate investigating this man's yearbook. Then we have New York Times stories this week that he threw ice at a bar party, at a bar, back when he was in college or something. And that they were excited about drinking kegs when he was at doing beach when he was going to the beach with his buddies. This is journalism today. It's all about getting your political enemy. Yet NBC News, for instance, put this person on TV. Put her on TV. No corroborating evidence, no information. And she goes on to allege that Kavanaugh implied that he was involved in the most egregious type of sexual misconduct. Drugging and raping people. No evidence beyond her mere statement that didn't, on its face, hold water. You know, I get angry like you do probably about certain policy issues, and when they don't go your way, you get upset, and you're like, oh, well, you know, I wish it happened. But this is really personally upsetting, and I think that's what I hear from a lot of Americans too. What's going on here is personally upsetting, in the sense we know this man is a good man. The left would have you believe he was a rapist, a drunk, all through high school and college, and then for 35 years did nothing. Was a perfect person. Does that make sense to you? Of course it doesn't. And if it doesn't make sense, it's probably not true. What does make sense is that the man you saw for 35 years having an unblemished record of ethics on the bench and and his other professional endeavors was probably a pretty good guy as a young man. But this is what it's come down to. I just can't believe I'm having to defend a nominee against these specious allegations. And from an anti-corruption perspective, I hope there's corruption investigations into what the Senate Democrats did here. And maybe a House Democrat as well. I don't know. What we did get is confirmation of corruption by the Senate operation run by the Democrats, the minority side. Is there going to be an investigation of Senator Feinstein sitting on this information and then releasing it after the hearings? Were there leaks out of her operation? Was there improper coordination between her and her lawyers, Ford's lawyers? I tell you what, if Senator Feinstein were in the Justice Department, the IRS, or the FBI, there'd be no question she'd be under criminal investigation for abusing her position. But because she's in the Senate, it's an old boys club in the worst sense of the word. So folks like Senator Feinstein are likely to be protected. And this is where you come in, because you should be demanding not only a vote on Judge Kavanaugh, but accountability for the corruption of this process. So I'm confident he'll get the votes, but you've got to let your voices be heard, because they might be crowded out by the often paid intimidation intimidatory group of protesters that are swarming the Hill as we speak and causing grave security concerns for the senators individually. I'm sure the staff is nervous. And I know citizens, everyday citizens, fear for going up on the Hill. I've talked to people who are used to Washington who don't want to be anywhere near the Senate because they fear the violence. And the left likes that. So let's work hard to make sure the right thing is done here, but we want accountability on these government corruption issues. Let's make sure Booker is held accountable to the rule of law in the Senate. Let's make sure that there's an investigation of Senator Feinstein and other Democrats who may have abused their offices to target this innocent man, Judge Kavanaugh. So we'll see what happens, and let's work hard to get the right result while there's still time. So just because it may be a weekend, don't feel like you can't call your senators. Call them, 888-224-3121. Call your senators, let them know how you feel about the Kavanaugh confirmation process, how they should be handling it, what they should be saying. Share your views. You know, we have this precious right. It's a God-given right, guaranteed to us. It's enshrined in the Constitution, the right to petition your government. Exercise it.